All right. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Southwest Flavor. I'm your host, Ron Arenas. Today we have one of my friends and kind of a local legend here in Tucson. He played for the U of A. He played basketball over there and played for legendary coach Lute Olson. I have Corey Williams with me today.
How you doing?
Welcome, Corey.
I'm doing good, thanks.
Yeah, good. So you played a little while for that coach Lute Olson that we all know and love.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I played basketball for University of Arizona from 1992 to 1996. A while after Coach Olson had kind of gotten things rolling. It was one of the premier programs in the country, and being a kid from Illinois, we were familiar with Lute Olson from his days at Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So to see what he was doing in Arizona at the time was just really good. This was shortly after Sean Elliott, Steve Kerr, Brian Williams, Sean Rooks, those guys, Matt Muehlbach. So when I showed up in 92, there was already a standard. They'd already been to a Final Four.
Yeah, that's right. In 88.
The program was established as a premier program in the country. So of the schools I was looking at, Arizona was in the top. It was Duke and Arizona and Michigan and a couple other schools. But I took my visit to Tucson. Yeah. As luck would have it, I took my visit in October. Okay. So, of course, the weather in October compared to Illinois. Oh, yeah. That was a wrap. It was like as soon as I got up, sunshine and palm trees, and that was it. That's all I needed to see.
So did you take a visit to Duke also?
No.
No? Oh. Okay.
Arizona was the only visit I took.
Oh, really?
It was my number 2 school.
Okay.
Funny story about Duke. They were recruiting me, and then Coach Krzyzewski, who was from Chicago, he was working the Chicago connection. My parents really liked Duke because of the academics. Yeah. I liked him as well. I felt like it was a good combination of hoops and school. But then they decided to back off my recruiting in my junior year. Oh. Because they said they got a verbal commitment from Jerry Stackhouse. Oh, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And the irony is, Jerry Stackhouse ended up going to North Carolina. Right. So he didn't even go there.
Their rival.
So, yeah, when Duke backed off, you kind of get a lesson on how recruiting works. You're on the list, but there's also other people on the list. So I said, okay, Arizona's my number 2 school. I took my visit. I liked it. There was no reason to take any other visits because I was kind of in a situation where I didn't want to let anybody else decide where I was going to go to school. So if I liked my number 2, then that's it. Yeah. And there were some coaches that were upset, but then there were some other coaches who understood it because it allowed them to move on in their recruiting. So it was just a domino effect type situation, but a choice that I definitely think was a good one for me. It was filled with everything, highs, lows, all of that. It definitely made me a better person, better man. Obviously, getting to be in contact with Coach Olson and learn from him was huge. The thing I stress to a lot of young people, getting away from home at 18. I put 2,000 miles between myself and my parents at 18 years old. And it made all the difference in the world because you're forced to... You had to grow up. You have to. You put yourself in a situation where it's sink or swim. And so many people don't do that. And it's hard to figure out who you are when you've never really been by yourself to figure out who you are. And I think the confidence that comes from living on your own and proving to yourself that you can do it. Yeah, I think that's a skill and a confidence you keep for the rest of your life. Okay. So yeah, it was an interesting situation, but yeah, 92 to 96, I played for Coach Olson. Good teams. Yeah. Saw a lot in 4 years, and it was definitely one of the better choices I made.
Of course, yeah. I'm glad you made that choice.
Yeah, me too. Me too, for sure.
So when we were growing up, I'm only a couple years older than you. Did they have AAU traveling teams and all that, or? It
was just getting started. There was really no AAU in the late 80s, early 90s. There was starting out, but primarily high school ball was king. Where you played high school ball determined your recruiting. Coaches would go out to your high school. They would go meet with your high school coaches. They talk to your teachers. They talk to your family members. Wow. Recruiting was very thorough back then. There wasn't this one-stop shopping that they do with these AAU tournaments where you round up the best kids in the Chicagoland area. You have a tournament, and 100 coaches can see all the kids at once.
Like an all-star tournament, basically.
And that's what it is right now. It's kind of an all-star circus where these coaches go out and recruit the top area players, and then the coaches just attend these tournaments. And whoever's at the tournament is who they recruit. A lot of vital information gets missed, in my opinion. Yeah.
they're really back then. They're really recruiting your character too.
Yeah, I mean, from the I started getting letters as early as my freshman year of high school. So letters, postcards, phone calls. It was all part of a recruiting process where they applied constant pressure to let you know that they were thinking about you. You were a player that they wanted, and it was definitely a situation where they got a feel for you, and you definitely got a feel for them. It was very genuine the way that you would get mail from a school. Like come to the mailbox and there'd be a letter from Michigan and a letter from Arizona.
Yeah.
And the intensity of the recruiting you could literally feel in the amount of communication that you got. So, it was, you got to learn a lot about a school. And at the same time they were recruiting you, you're observing them on television. You're watching their games. You're following their program. And you're seeing in real time what's going on with them. So the recruiting back in the 90s, it was the golden era, in my opinion, where coaches literally showed up in your gym to watch your high school game. Yeah. And there's so much that can be seen in person. It wasn't a collection of the best players in the area. It was, hey, this guy's the man on his team. We're going to watch him play another guy. And even if they're different positions, we'll see their leadership skills. We'll observe how they work with their teammates and their coaches.
Exactly.
There's so much you can learn from watching a kid play on his high school team versus, he's one of a bunch of guys from the area. Because then I think the game is a lot different when you got those kids all together.
I think if you're on an all-star team, you're trying to get your own, basically. You're trying to showcase what you can do. Yeah. And you're not maybe necessarily showing those leadership skills that you would with your own high school team. No,
and you're right. And if you were to watch, like say me, for instance, if you were to watch me play high school, there are times where I'd get the rebound, bring it up court, and shoot a three. I'm not going to do that when I'm playing with the other best players in the Chicagoland area. I'm going to get the rebound, pass it to one of the guards, who's the best guard in Chicagoland area. He's going to bring it up, and then we'll play a regular offense. So the things that I'm doing on my high school team, I'm going to put my full skill set on display because I kind of have to. I'm carrying the team. Yeah. I'm not getting in foul trouble. I'm making plays on the defensive end, on the offensive end, because I'm the go-to guy. I'm the guy. So you're going to see my whole game. Whereas all-star situations, you can hide a little bit because you're surrounded by good guys. And the other thing is if I don't have a left hand, you're not going to see that in an all-star game. But if I don't have a left hand and I'm playing a rival school, that coach is going to make me go left. Right, exactly. And the scout's going to see the way you defend him is he can't go left. So you miss so much information when you're observing a kid in an AAU situation because his weaknesses aren't ever exploited. His skills are often exaggerated because he's playing alongside other great players. Yeah. So, and I see this all the time when I talk to college coaches. The kid that shows up freshman year is very rarely the kid that they recruited. And they don't understand it. And I said, well, you guys are recruiting out the AAU circuit. You're not really scratching the surface of what you're bringing on campus. Right. I'm sure it was a huge life lesson for you and for all the kids that come in that you're the man on campus at your high school. And then you go somewhere like Arizona or Duke or Michigan and you're a freshman and you're not the man. You're just, you're another guy. Right. And you're 2,000 miles away from home, too. Yeah, it's definitely a lot because, and I talk about this a lot when I do games, you come in as a freshman, basketball is more difficult than it's ever been. It was easier for you in high school, and then all of a sudden you hit this brick wall in college where everybody's bigger and stronger. Yeah. The moves that you used to make in high school that would work don't work. Yeah. So everything that you use to get there is instantly useless. That is the weirdest feeling in the world. It's like, man, I can't post up. I can't shoot over people. I can't guard anybody. I can't block any shots. Like, these are all the things that I did against quote unquote lesser competition that got me this scholarship. Right. And so I've got this bag of tricks that doesn't work freshman year. Like, I'm struggling. Yeah. And if you don't back that up with good coaching, you can lose a lot of kids because that's all they've known for 6 or 7 years or however long they've been playing up until they get to college. Right. So you tell a kid like, hey, you can't do that here. Well, what do you mean? This dribble step back three, that's been my bread. Well, we don't need a dribble step back three from a freshman at Arizona. Like, that's a trash shot. And you used to shoot it in high school because it was high school and your coach let you and you would make it and it's great. And we like that about you, but that's not the best shot we can get here. Here, we need you to do X, Y, and Z. Right. And so you're taking away a lot of the kids' comfort zone, and now you're trying to blend him into a team. And the other thing that you're doing is everybody that got there made their own path there.
Right.
There's nobody on that team that scored less than 20 points a game in high school.
Yeah.
So now you got one basketball, and you got 9 guys who've all scored 20 points a game. And you're convincing them all to give up the basketball so that we can win as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different way to play basketball than they've ever played it before.
Yeah.
Takes a hell of a coach to convince a young kid, I need you to abandon the one thing that brought you here, which is the ball.
Right.
You had that ball in your hands for 4 years. You dominated. You made yourself a star. We recruited you. We bought you here. Now give it up.
That's tough.
It takes a great coach.
Yeah, it does. Was there a lot of calls to mom and dad?
There was a couple.
Yeah.
There was a couple. The first ones were just, hey, I don't like it here. You know, it's difficult. And then one day I decided that I wanted to transfer. I was sick of it.
Wow.
I felt like I wasn't my identity had changed, and I didn't want them to convince me. I didn't want to accept reality, which was that I was 185 pounds. I didn't play high-level high school basketball. I had a huge learning curve and learning gap to fill up.
Right.
Physically, I was behind a lot of incoming freshmen.
Yeah.
So the high school basketball that I had played wasn't the same level as some of the other guys that I came in with my freshman class. I didn't really want to accept that. I wanted to believe that they were misusing me and I was being wasted and I was as good as advertised and I would be flourishing somewhere else.
And we've heard that from some transfers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the best thing that ever happened to me was I called my dad and I talked to him. I said, Pops, I want to transfer. And he was like, no, you're not transferring. He goes, you picked that school. You're going to finish there. He said, all those guys there got 2 arms and 2 legs just like you. They're no different than you. And if they're playing and you're not, it's because you need to get better. And he said, you're not going to just change schools. He says, absolutely not. And I hated that man. For weeks, I hated him because he said no.
But what a great life lesson.
And because at the end of the day, he was absolutely right. I mean, these weren't magical, mythical creatures that I was playing with. Yeah, they were better than me because they had worked harder and they had been there and they developed skills. And if I rolled up my sleeves, I could be as good as them down the stretch. And it was funny because shortly after that, once we took the transfer thing off the table, and most people at Arizona don't even know that conversation was taking place. It was between me and my parents. I never went to the staff with it.
Okay.
But I really was going, I'm out of here because I'm not playing and I'm freaking 3rd team All-American and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
So one of my best friends to this day is Damon Stoudemire, who played with us in those Arizona teams, and he was my roommate. And his nightly counseling sessions with me, he was all Pac-10 as a sophomore. He was already on his NBA trajectory, and he would just come in and he would just tell me the flat out truth. And it was a lot of tough conversations, but I don't know why to this day he just spent the time to tell me really how it was.
Right.
He never he wasn't like rooting for me, but he was helping me see. Kind of, well, at the same time, he's doing his own career. He's helping me see how the coaches see it, how the scouts see it, how the NBA sees it, and I'm so grateful to him because it allowed me to step out of my little self-pity thing and be like, okay, I got to get in the weight room. I got to get better on defense. Coach isn't going to play me until he knows I can play defense. Once he plays me, then I can start shooting and doing my thing. But
he can't be a defensive liability.
No, and that was where I learned one of the biggest rules in life, which is, and I say this to people when I talk I'm working in the insurance industry, when I do sales meetings and I talk to people about career growth and all that kind of stuff. I said, listen, find out what your boss wants. Once you find out what your boss wants, give it to him.
Yeah.
You can't get what you want until your boss gets what they want. It is so simple.
Yeah.
Most people never really understand that. And they feel like their path, their goals, their marks are the ones that matter. No. Give your boss what they want, and then you'll most likely get what you want. Now, if you're in a situation where your boss is getting what they want and you're not moving forward, then you quit and change jobs.
Sure.
But for the most part, make sure your bosses are happy, and then usually down the line, you'll get what you want. And it was that way with Coach Olson. He needed me to play defense. We had guys that could score.
Yeah.
He said, if I put you in the game, it's to give someone a rest, so I can't have you out there making defensive mistakes. Now, if you happen to make a couple shots and make some threes, great for you, but you're not going to play until you learn to defend and you can rebound. I had a choice.
Yeah.
Do that, which I could defend and rebound, but it wasn't what I was known for. I was a scorer. So I had to give Coach what he wanted. And then I got out there and I made a couple threes and scored. And the more that I played defense and the better I rebounded, the longer I got to stay. The longer I got to stay, the more points I scored. So it all worked out. So yeah, it was definitely a life lesson.
Yeah, very good. Well, with that, let's take a short sponsor break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Shipping packages is a facet of modern commerce. At Tucson Pack and Ship, we work with major delivery companies to make sure your goods get where they need to go. In addition to shipping, we also offer private mailboxes, notary services, and document shredding. We'll also safely pack your valuable items. Tucson Pack and Ship, Tucson's one-stop packing and shipping source.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturoxcooling.com.
Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating and Plumbing.
All right, welcome back. This is Southwest Flavor. I'm your host, Ron Arenas. We're talking with Corey Williams. We're talking U of A basketball, and let's talk a little bit about this current season of U of A basketball. What's going on over there?
It's been an interesting season.
Yeah.
Because I think Arizona, the non-conference schedule kind of threw everybody off. I think at one point they were 4-5 and had a losing record.
Yeah.
The city of Tucson kind of panicked when they saw 4-5.
Oh, definitely.
And I think
we're not used to that.
Yeah, the casual fan panicked, but my job as an analyst for ESPN is to look beyond that and say, listen, where's the loss to a team that's not going to be in the tournament?
Right.
Maybe a West Virginia, maybe an Oklahoma bubble. But other than that, they had not lost to any bad teams.
Yeah.
So even now, when you look at who's playing well, UCLA, Wisconsin still playing strong. There's not bad losses. I think they've lost 10 games, 11 games, including Kansas.
Right.
So they've lost to 11 teams, 10 of which are definitely tournament teams. 10 for sure.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good
Yeah.
considering, this Arizona team, obviously the gift and the curse of Arizona basketball and coaching Arizona basketball is this is one of the few programs that's judged by what it does in the postseason.
Yeah.
It's Duke, it's Arizona, it's Kansas. These teams are known by, okay, were you eight, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four? Like, what'd you do this year? Like, the tournament's a given.
Right.
It's a given.
Yeah, they're supposed to be there.
Yeah, so when they got off to that slow start at 4-5, I think there was a lot of panic. Mm-hmm. I think there were a lot of idiots online asking for Tommy Lloyd's job and all this other stuff. And, it takes some cojones to schedule that preseason.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he could have easily taken 5 or 6 other games and been 10-0 at Christmas time.
Right.
And everybody would have been dancing in the streets. But would the team be battle tested?
Right.
Would the team be experienced?
Yeah.
This Arizona team has played the toughest teams in the country. When you look at Iowa State, you look at Houston, when you look at Texas Tech, when you look at a team like Kansas, Wisconsin, UCLA, they've played the tough, gritty teams. There's no big, bad boogeyman out there for Arizona yet that they haven't seen. They've seen it all.
They've seen it all, yeah.
So the question now, as we get into the tournament week, they don't play till Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Tournament starts today.
Yeah, there's a chance they could see Iowa State, I think. I don't know how the brackets break down, but they're going to see a good team Thursday night for sure.
Right.
So you've got a Thursday night game against what I think will be a team that could easily be an Elite 8, Final Four team. Whoever they play Thursday night is capable of winning 2 or 3 games in the tournament. Yeah. So you're getting all these matchups against the teams that you're going to have to beat once a tournament starts. I think a little bit of then there was the run where Arizona won 14 of 15 and everybody was riding high again and they broke inside the top 20 and everybody was loving Arizona. And then they finished losing 3 of their last 5.
Yeah.
And
that was tough.
It's tough, but when you looked at the schedule, you're like, "Oh,
it was a hard schedule."
At Iowa State, at Kansas,
yeah,
those weren't gimmies.
Right.
They weren't gimmies at all. So you have to take the schedule and you have to take the record with a grain of salt. You have to look at they legitimately played big boy teams.
Yeah,
not twice, not 3 times. I think Arizona's strength of schedule is like 3rd in the country.
Oh, wow.
Or something.
Okay.
It's not maybe. I know it's top 10 for sure. Maybe
Yeah.
7th. It's up there. So their strength of schedule is insane.
Yeah.
Now, does that make the casual Tucson fan feel any better? No. They're like, oh, this team could go one and done. And this is where I will say, when you look at Arizona basketball, they've given you games that make you feel like they're going to get beat in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And they've given you games where you're like, oh, we could win it all.
Yeah, they do.
And that is something that's different. And we talk about this all the time. We had on our podcast, they needed a bread and butter offense. They needed to be consistent offensively.
Yeah.
When we look at Arizona, we have no idea what's going to happen from game to game.
That's true.
We have no idea who's going to have a big game. Will it be Toby Awaka scoring a bunch of points? Will it be Vasar scoring points? Is Del Orso going to make 4 threes? Is Caleb going to go bonkers for 30? Is Jaden Bradley going to have 14 or 20 and 17 points and 12 assists? Or is the freshman Carter Bryant going to knock down 3 threes and get a couple dunks? Like, we don't know.
We don't know.
We never know.
No.
There's no rhythm. There's no set go-to guy. And that is very concerning when you talk about what it takes to win 6 games in a row and win a national championship. 6 neutral site games against increasingly difficult competition. You have to have offense.
Right.
This is what we do every day, all day long. Pick your poison. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to do that. And over 40 minutes, we're going to beat you. When you try to prepare for a team like that, it's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the loss at home to BYU. BYU scores 95 points.
Yeah.
They were doing the same things offensively that they did 2 weeks prior when Arizona won at BYU. The only difference is they were missing those shots at home. They didn't miss those shots in McHale Center, and they put up 95 points and they won.
They did, yeah.
I tell people all the time, you give up 95 points at the crib, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
So BYU's offense is it's at least consistent. Now, whether or not the shots go in, but they always do the same stuff. And you can prepare for it however you want because they've got a counter for whatever you prepare. So I don't want to be the back in my day guy, but 30 years ago, we played inside out. We gave the ball to our big man. We already knew our big man was better than yours. So if you guys want to stand out here with us and watch my big man destroy your guy, fine, we'll do that for 40 minutes and we'll beat you. Oh, you want to double team him? Okay, now he's going to shoot threes or I'm going to shoot. So we're going to show up and be Arizona.
Right.
We're going to show up and get the ball inside, get it outside. Like whatever you want to do, we ready for that. We got guys that can knock down threes. We got big men. Then we got all these athletes that are going to just do whatever they want to do anytime they feel like doing it. So you can't beat us. And we used to come out with that air, that swagger, that confidence of we're better than you at all 5 positions. Mm-hmm. Even on nights where that wasn't true, we still felt that way.
Right.
I mean, we played Jason Kidd at Cal. We knew he was a better point guard than our point guard, but we didn't care. We played Allen Iverson in the Garden.
Oh, wow.
My senior year, we played Allen Iverson in the Garden. We had 5 guys. None of us were first-round draft picks. 3 of us got drafted in the second round. But we beat Georgetown at Madison Square Garden. Wow. Led by Allen. Now, he had 40, but we still won. So our thing was we feel like we're better than you 1 through 5. We're going to show up, do what we do, and we've got counters for whatever you decide to try to take away. This Arizona team, it's because it's not an inside-out team. Mm-hmm. They do not prioritize posting up. They do not prioritize the inside game. Toby Awaka is not a back-you-down, turnaround scorer. Vasar's not a back-you-down, turnaround scorer. So
losing Krivas, is that part of it?
That's all of it.
That's all of it?
That's all. See, people forget that.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the anchor, the 7-foot guy that was going to be the dominant big, and everybody else was supposed to play around that. Ah, okay. You add Krivas to the mix, and now we've got a 7-footer that you have to double. Mm-hmm. What's Caleb Love's 3-point percentage now? Yeah. What is Trey Townsend's game look like playing opposite a 7-footer?
More open looks.
What does Toby Awaka look like on the offside offense? He gets a ton of rebounds now. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine him rebounding with Krivas missing a layup and Toby crashing on the other side? Like the whole team was built around Krivas being their best player. Okay. And he didn't even suit up. So you look at it and you think, Tommy's made several comments that Krivas was supposed to be the best player on this year's team.
Yeah.
So how easy is it for Jaden Bradley to run a screen with a big guy and drop it off to Krivas? Like, the whole look of the team has changed since his injury.
Yeah.
And that is so easy for people to forget because, out of sight, out of mind. He's not playing. We're not going to think about it. So I think Tommy does a great job of putting together a team. And when you miss a key piece, it does affect the way everybody else plays. So I agree with you on that.
That's true. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So how do you, the other parts of this team, how do you like his recruiting?
I think he's a great recruiter. I mean, did anybody know who Omar Ballo was? Had anybody heard of Pella Larson?
No.
Had anybody heard of Keyshawn Johnson? I mean, he did go to the Final Four with San Diego State, but was he a household name? I mean,
not really.
Azuolas Tubelis?
Yeah.
I mean, Tommy knows talent. He brings in kids, and then you find out what's good about them when you watch them play. So I don't think for 1 second you can ever doubt his eye for talent and his eye for recruiting because he brings in kids. Some of those were left over from Sean, but he brings in kids that can play. And you look at him and you say, wow, I never heard of this kid, but man, is he good. Now, there's a couple of kids that have transferred out that were probably, like Adama Ball, who's over at Santa Clara, having a banner season. Banner season. He never was going to get to do that at Arizona, but now he's in a program where he's really doing well. I think both Pella Larson and Keyshawn both are with the Miami Heat right now.
They are, yeah.
So he knows talent. Ballo was a kid that when he left Gonzaga, Mark Few was like, you can take him. And the next
I don't think he was playing much, right?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was a developmental kid.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he's one of the most dominant players in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And he gets a huge NIL package, and basically Indiana comes and buys him from us because we couldn't afford to keep him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they may have overpaid, and now they're kind of wondering what they did. They may have some buyer's remorse because in a situation that he was here in Arizona, being well coached and being a featured part of the offense, Omar Ballo was an unstoppable force that made it easy to shoot threes, made it easy to penetrate. And so, I mean, Tommy is a recruiter. And you got to give credit to the whole staff. Jack Murphy's good at going overseas and finding kids and then coaching them up.
Okay.
So I think Tommy can definitely hang his hat on his recruiting. The fact that he brings in kids that other people have missed on or didn't see, and then next thing you know, he's got a 20-win season. I think he's the fastest coach in 4 years to 20-win seasons. I mean, he's got the winning percentage speaks for itself. And this is while he's still scheduling tough non-conference games, tournaments, Maui Classic. I mean, Arizona they play 4 or 5 good games in the non-conference where other teams may play 2 or 3.
Okay.
So, he understands it's better to get some bumps and bruises early to have a good chance because the way Arizona lost in the tournament to Houston years ago, and they kind of got out muscled, and even the Clemson game felt like last year they kind of muscled us around a little, and our guys weren't really ready for it. I don't know that that's going to be a problem this year. I think
seems like we're an older team this year.
We're an older team, but we're too dependent on Caleb Love's 3-point shot.
Yeah,
we can't live or die off his three. The team is too talented to be that one-dimensional. And I say that with all due respect to Caleb and his ability to win games and save us from games. And, he can make 2 threes that put the game out of reach. That's so true about his game.
Right.
But as a program, we've got to be a little more diverse offensively. So I don't know how we get there, but the truth of the matter is we're out of time. It doesn't matter. We are literally out of time. The postseason is now. It begins today. We're guaranteed 1 game on Thursday, and then we'll find out who we play on Sunday.
Wow.
In the tournament. So that's it. There's 2 guaranteed games left on the schedule.
Right.
And, if we play Friday and Saturday, great. If we don't, let's get ready and find out where we're going on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have a Thursday game. And then after that, it's time to build your legacy. Like, who are you? What did you do while you were at Arizona? If we're out on the golf course, 10 years from now, and hey, I'm Corey Williams, 1994 Final Four, 1996 Sweet 16. Who are you? Oh, I'm Caleb Love, first round exit. That's how alums talk to each other. That's how we talk to each other.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
What you did while you were at school is part of your it's on your business card.
Huh?
It's who you are. It's
that's your resume.
That's Final Four Sean Elliott. That's Final Four Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's national champion Miles Simon. National champion Mike Dickerson. You walk in the door with that.
Okay.
So Pac-12 Player of the Year, Pac-10 Player of the Year, Final Four, champions. How many rings do you have? That's all alumni talk about. That's the only thing you are. So this is the time. And when you're young, you don't understand it. You're just like, whatever. But then when you get older, you're like, look, what you do here, it literally defines you because the program is so much older and bigger than your career.
That's
Back
true.
in the day, your career was 4 years.
Yeah.
Lute got here in the early 80s. So Arizona basketball at its peak is over 40 years old.
Yeah.
You're just a fraction. The fan bases, they remember all the good days and they remember all that. So you're just here for a splash of time. So you got to do something to stand out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll just be remembered as first round exit. We had a couple of first round exits in my time too.
Yeah.
We lost to Steve Nash in 92 in Santa Clara.
Okay.
We lost to Miami of Ohio my junior year. And I had a Final Four before that and a Sweet 16 after that. So it's pretty solid. I think I had a couple Pac-10 titles in there too.
Yeah.
So I had a good run. And I was never the go-to guy on any of those teams, but I was a key part of a lot of those teams.
Sure.
So what you do while you're here is kind of your calling card. It's kind of on your resume permanently. And I look at this Arizona team, especially now with the portal and NIL and guys transferring. Most of these guys are here for a season, maybe two.
It's so different now.
So how the fans relate to them is different now. It's like, okay, did you bring us a championship while you were here? We didn't get the Big 12 title. Maybe we can get the Big 12 tournament title. Yeah. But the fans will forgive both of those if we end up at a Final Four.
Of course, yeah.
So how does this Arizona team win 4 games in a row? Yeah. That is, that's the tough thing about it. And the other tough thing about it is you're 31 games in now. There's 31 game tapes out there on you.
Yeah. It's a lot of scouting.
Every time you lost, how they beat you is on tape. Yeah. So now when the tournament rolls around and it's win or go home, you got to know whoever you're playing is going to try to emulate the way that you lost before. Right. So now, and coaches, we always laugh about this because, I'll have a game and they'll be coming off a loss and I'll turn to my partner and say, I bet they win tonight. He goes, how do you know that? And I said, because you can't teach kids after they win.
Okay.
You can only teach kids after they lose.
They're riding too high after they win.
When they lose, they're humbled. They don't want to look bad. They don't want to be joked about on social media. They don't like what the scouts are saying and what the people in the comment sections are saying. They come to practice with a completely different mindset. Yeah. Hey, we lost because you didn't keep him out of the lane. We lost because you didn't get physical and box him out. We lost because you weren't aggressive down the stretch. Okay, coach, I hear that. I received that. I don't like this feeling. I'm going to make those changes. Yeah. You can only coach. I shouldn't say only. But a lot of times coaching sinks in after a loss just because of the nature of today's climate with culture and social media and all that. So I always joke when they're coming off a loss, now they're ready to fix things. Now they're ready to address the things coach has been yelling at them for months and weeks. Right. Because now they've been embarrassed. The family members are, oh, man, you didn't look good. And the girlfriend may not be returning their calls. Like there's a lot of stuff going on after a loss. Yeah. Because the first thing all these kids do is they pick up their phone. I mean, we had situations where kids were going on their phones at halftime in the locker room. Really? Yes. It's insane. Wow. Coach is like, put your phone away. They would take their phones before the game so that nobody could get on their phones at halftime. That could really get in your head. We're talking about kids. Yeah. Yeah, 18, 17, 18. Of course it's in their head. You got some grown man who never played basketball in his life telling you suck over social media. Yeah. And you're reading that at halftime of the Arizona UCLA game. Are you insane? Like, why are you listening to this guy? Right. Somebody like you or me would dismiss it. But at that age, they're sensitive to everything. Of course. And the people who actually know are there in the locker room with you. The coaches, the people that matter. But that's the fight. You're fighting for the sanity and the focus and the mentality of a young person, and you're up against social media, which is their life. Yeah. It is their life. Their highlights go on Instagram. People get in the comment section, which can be a tremendous boost, but their mistakes also go on social media, and then you get commentary from people who are, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I don't care. They're just unqualified. Sure. They're unqualified, and everybody has a right to their opinion because the thing about sports in America, it's driven by viewership. If people weren't entertained and didn't want to watch, there'd be no money in it.
That's true.
So you can't take that without taking the fact that that same person can get on Instagram and say how they feel, because that's the person that paid $180 for the football ticket in the first place.
Yeah.
That's the person that sat there and bought the gear and paid $60 for parking and $30 for a beer. Him and his son watched you miss a field goal.
Yeah.
And he has a right to get on Instagram and say, for $225, you ruined my Saturday or my Sunday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, does the kicker have to read his comment and take it to heart? No. But you got to understand the connection. If he's not doing that, you're not making $6 million a year kicking field goals. Because in no other society in this country can you make $6 million playing a child's game.
Right.
You can't do that in any other countries around the world. So the sport athlete has to understand the appeal to the fan base drives the money that goes in your pocket. You just have to tune it out. I mean, I'm on Twitter, but I don't see comments from people I don't follow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Why would I care what you say if I don't know who you are?
Yeah.
I listen to my executives at ESPN. I listen to my bosses at my other job, and I listen to other. If you don't have a check for me, I don't care what you have to say. And I hate to sound like a jerk, but it's so real. Like, why would I care about the opinion of somebody who's not paying me?
That's true. And they've never been in your shoes.
Oh, we don't. No, I'm not saying. And then if you say that, then you're a Joe. You're arrogant. No, that's true.
Yeah.
It is so true. But if you say that, it's like if you're an engineer and you build bridges, why do you care what a baker says about the bridge you designed?
Right. Yeah.
He's not an engineer.
Yeah.
He bakes cookies.
Yeah.
So if he drives across your bridge and says, "Oh, this bridge doesn't look nice. It's crappy," dude. Come on, man.
Right.
Am I really going to dignify that with a response? But that's the life of the athlete.
Yeah.
You have to dignify the unqualified response because eventually public opinion does affect your pocketbook.
Yeah.
If the wrong people en masse start a movement, we don't like Anthony Davis or Luka Doncic's grade or whatever, or, whatever the narrative is. Kyrie Irving is a bad person. If the movement starts, eventually upper management will have to do something. Whether the movement is real or not, if the narrative takes hold, you got a problem. What's the narrative on Lamar Jackson? Great quarterback, regular season.
Yeah.
Can't win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, is it his fault Andrews dropped those passes?
No.
I think you or me could have caught those passes. But it doesn't matter because the narrative is alive.
Yeah.
And the narrative is, he's this, he's that. Josh Allen just signed the biggest time contract in NFL history, $250 million guaranteed. Was he really the MVP last year? No. You look at his numbers. Lamar Jackson had a beat in every category, but the point was, fine, here, take it. Just give him the MVP so we can say he got one. Yeah. He gets this money, but has he won a Super Bowl? No. Is there the same narrative about him as there is about Lamar Jackson? Yeah. They're saying the same thing about Joe Burrow? Like, as an athlete, you have to be aware of what the fans at large are saying because it does affect you. Whether they're right or not, it doesn't matter. I'll give you a quick story. Okay. I'm in Belgium. I just bought my house here in Tucson. I've never owed anybody that much money before in my life. I'm paranoid. 2 months into my contract, 3 weeks into my contract, I have a stress fracture in my left foot. Now, I know the deal. If I get surgery, season's over, they're not going to pay me. They're going to send me back to the States, and I got to figure out a way to pay my mortgage. Oh, wow. I decided to play the entire season with stress fracture in my foot. Me and the coach and the GM, we decide they don't want to get another American. They want to let me go. I said, look, I can play on Saturday, but my foot's going to be sore as hell on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I said, okay, Corey, you're going to practice on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you're going to play Saturday. That's going to be our schedule. And they told the whole team, Corey, he's not going to practice Monday and Tuesday, and maybe ride the bike on Wednesday. His foot is sore, but he's not going to have surgery. He's going to literally limp his way through the season. So for 4 months, I played my heart out on Saturdays on a broken foot and iced and literally just dunked it in ice Saturday night, all day Sunday. And I did this for 4 straight months. Man. And then I had to read people say, something's different with Corey this year. He's not the same guy. He's not this. He's still getting 25 and like 12. Yeah. But they're used to 30 and 12. Okay. So people not knowing what's going on with you and still having the opinion and the right to voice their opinion, that's the tough part for athletes, because there's a lot of stories that never make it out of the locker room.
Sure.
But you've got to deal with whatever the perception is or whatever the narrative is. So, when you look at how sensitive these kids are to social media, you got to factor that in too. Obviously, the fans don't have all the information. They don't see the big picture.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change. I think people are always going to have their cell phones and have access to social media. The goal is to keep the young people from absorbing too much of the negative stuff because, as you and I know as full-grown adults, negativity, it affects you no matter what. Like you can try to pretend it doesn't, but it does. It'll wear you down over time. So this Arizona team, young kids, put together in a difficult situation. Krivas has been unavailable all year, but they've been put together in a way where I just wish I knew what we were going to get. I feel like if they get beat the first game, people are going to be like, I knew it. And if they go to the Final Four, people are going to be like, I knew it.
Yeah,
like it does. No matter what happens, people will have seen that version of an NFL team before. And I'll take you a side story.
Well, before we do that, let's hit a quick sponsor break, and then we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Shipping packages is a facet of modern commerce. At Tucson Pack and Ship, we work with major delivery companies to make sure your goods get where they need to go. In addition to shipping, we also offer private mailboxes, notary services, and document shredding. We'll also safely pack your valuable items. Tucson Pack and Ship, Tucson's one-stop packing and shipping source.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturoxcooling.com.
Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
TRAC stands for Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids. It's a favorite service organization for the Wakies to support. TRAC, located at Dodge and River, is a one-of-a-kind ranch that offers children of various needs an opportunity to serve through interaction with animals. It's a win-win for children and all of our beloved animals. TRAC is eligible for your Arizona tax credit donations now through April 15th. To find out how to get a dollar-for-dollar credit off your Arizona tax bill and help kids and animals, head over to TRACTucson.org and go to the Support TRAC page to find out more. Make sure you tell TRAC my boy Smooch the Mini Donkey sent you.
We are back to Southwest Flavor. So we had a comment or a question from the YouTube listener, and they're asking, Corey, what advice do you have for kids? It's a pretty general question, but
kids that play sports or just kids in general?
Probably kids that play sports.
Kids that don't play sports, kids in general, just shut up and do what you're told. This is all kids in America. Shut up and do what you're told. Kids playing sports.
Yeah.
The advice that I'd have for them is this, and this is literally how I feel from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
You are not your sport. You are not your statistics. You are not your awards. You are not your batting percentage. You are not your stats, your game stats. People around you, because they don't know any better, will treat you that way. When you play good, they treat you nice. When you play poorly, they give you the cold shoulder. When you win, it's ice cream after the game. When you lose, it's a lecture in the car all the way home. But that's not who you are. The biggest mistake that young people make in sports is they get sucked into believing that they are how they play. And it's really not their fault because it's the adults around them that create this toxic environment.
Yeah.
Because there's some adults that never did it and wanted to do it so much that they pour it into their kid, and then
they're living through their kids. Yeah.
It's so bad. And then there's the adults who, if my kid is happy, then I'm a good parent. If my kid is experiencing the most joy and the most pleasure he can possibly or she can possibly get out of life, then I'm doing my job. And the funny thing is, if that's how you want to do it as a parent, then keep your child in a room and fill it with TVs and toys and whatever, and don't let the kid ever leave the house. Because when you put your child in sports, which are competitive by nature, you lose control. You cannot control your child's experience in sports. When you try to control your kid's experience in sports and create the easiest path, put your child on the best AAU team or the best club team where they'll never be challenged and they'll never experience a loss. It may work early on. If you've got the money to navigate and soften the path, first of all, let's just be honest, you're not building an athlete. What you're doing is like some after-school special Lifetime home movie type crap that isn't real. But when you put your child in sports and you try to manipulate their path, you're damaging their ability to ever grow and develop as an athlete.
And as a person.
As a person. And the only thing you're really doing is raising the cliff that they're going to fall off of when reality eventually hits. Because the one thing about sports is it is a meritocracy. So if there are better players out there and there are tougher coaches out there and you keep them away from your child, eventually when your child does run up against them, that fall will be epic. Where it should have just been, oh, wow. That kid's good. I need to get better. That's what you want. But what's going to happen with the way that a lot of parents do it, I quit. I don't want to play no more. I just got embarrassed. This is not cool. I've never felt this bad. I just witnessed the talent gap between me and this other person. I'm out. I don't want to play anymore. So the parents and the adults in these situations, because there's so much money in sports that, a kid could get good at baseball and get generational wealth. A kid could excel in football, and next thing you know, with NIL, he could be making a couple $100,000 a year playing college football. Like, I understand the motivation for a lot of parents to push their kids into sports, but the best way I would say it, and I say this to parents sometimes, is, hey, why don't you train? Why don't you train kids? I have a lot to pour into a kid. I know exactly how to play basketball. I played All-American in high school, played at a major college, won Final Fours, played 13, 14 years professional, worked for ESPN as a college basketball analyst. The reason I don't train kids, and I tell parents this all the time, is because you wouldn't like it. You couldn't sit there while I make your child better. Not when they're 10, 11, 12. That's, when you're working on your skills. High school and better? Oh, it's not going to be pretty. And I tell the parent, your kid will be fine. You couldn't stomach it. You'd feel some way about me. Your kid, if I emulated 10% of the Lute Olson experience with your child, you'd be ready to call the police on me. You yank your kid out of training and you go find somebody else. And that's fine. But that doesn't change reality, because what you're about to see in the NCAA tournament is you're about to see a bunch of blue bloods get beat by mid-majors. Hungry, scrappy kids who don't give a damn about that jersey on your chest. They want their moment in the sun. They've toiled in the darkness off to the side. They haven't gotten NIL deals. They haven't gotten a lot of exposure. And they're going to kick the crap out of some of these big-name schools whose players just want their NIL money and just want to ride off into the sunset.
That's true. They have nothing to lose.
And the fan bases are going to be like, what the hell just happened? And I'll be like, what do you think just happened? A blue-collar person just got to punch an elite in the nose. In society, if we could do that, a lot of people would. Trust me, if we could all do that, we would. But so you look at it, it's like, this is sports. The money can't help you. The soft stuff that your parents did for you can't help you out here. Either you can pitch or hit or catch touchdowns or make back. Either you can do it or you can't. Now, the referees are here to see that you follow the rules, but other than that, nobody can help you out here.
So once you get up to those elite levels, there's always going to be someone that's better than you. And
your job as an athlete is to find that person and go at them. And that seems to be the spirits that's been lost. I always say basketball changed, and you and I could go right now to playgrounds all across America, and there's nobody outside hooping. We go out there in the 1970s, 1980s.
Oh, yeah. We were always out there at the park.
Community event. Like, I'm just going down to the park. You don't even have to know. People will just be down there playing. So the death of pickup, the death of playground basketball has changed the whole flow of real sports, because pickup basketball was definitely Darwinism. Like, you had to survive. The guys didn't pick you unless you could play.
That's right.
And if you were gonna help them win, they'd wait on you and pick you and you'd play. If you weren't going to help them win, they wouldn't pick you. So that was your first introduction to how it really works.
Yeah.
Well, that's gone now.
Yeah.
Now it's AAU. Hey, I'm going to take the best kids over here, put you all together, and now you guys just going to play. That's not really conducive to competition.
Yeah.
So, it's just frustrating to see because I see so many kids that want to hoop. In reality, I'm looking at the kid and I'm like, man, reality's not going to hurt this kid. I wish I could pull him over here a little bit and get him and get him dirty a little bit, like get him ready.
Yeah.
But his people got him in this garbage mentality. He's not going to be the hooper he could be because it's when it gets real for him, he won't have anything to fall back on.
Right. He's not going to have those life lessons.
I played basketball against grown men, criminals, gangbangers, drug dealers. I'm 13 years old playing with guys in their 30s and 40s. I'm hearing 4-letter words. I'm seeing fist fights. Yeah. I'm getting fouled hard on concrete.
Right. No blood, no foul.
Man, playing high school basketball indoors on wood.
Oh, yeah.
With people my age.
That was easy for you, right?
30 and 20.
Yeah.
30 points, 20 rebounds in my sleep.
Oh, wow.
Corey Williams is the best high school player in the Chicagoland area. Yeah, because I played with grown men for 6 years.
Yeah.
These little fouls aren't fouls to me.
Right.
And then when I get to Arizona, it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's a team full of NBA guys now.
Right.
And I'm back to square one, but I knew this is the path I had to go through to get there. So then my senior year, it's so funny, I joke about this. Jason Terry, hell of an NBA player, hell of a college player.
Right.
When JT came in his freshman year, it was sink or swim. And some days he sank.
Yeah.
This is a guy who went on to become one of the greatest Wildcats ever. I'm telling you, him and A.J. Bramlin and Miles Simon and Mike Dickerson, their freshman years, they had days where they didn't look like they were going to make it.
Right. Well, didn't JT redshirt his freshman year?
He was supposed to, but I don't think he did.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the point is, it was never easy for any of them, but none of them ever walked away from how difficult it was.
Yeah.
So coming full circle, I know that it's hard to say this to young people because they're kind of powerless in this, but don't ever believe you as a person are what you do on that field or on that court or in that sport, because that is the wrong messaging. It's just unfortunate that a lot of people treat the kids that way. So it goes hand in hand. And when you look at today's college athlete, the biggest complaint I get from coaches when I talk to them is that the kids need to feel good before they play good. They spend more time being therapists and counselors to these kids than they do coaching them.
That's crazy.
If the kid doesn't feel good, he's lost.
Wow.
They can't ride a kid too much because they're afraid they'll lose them. The kids that come in now to play college sports are so mentally fragile. It's unlike anything that coaches have ever seen. And you got to think about the evolution of coaching. Most coaches are former players.
Yeah.
So if you're a former player, let's just say you're a 55-year-old coach. That means you played basketball in the 80s.
That's right.
How do you even relate to a 2025 recruit?
Yeah.
You played for Coach Mike Krzyzewski. Look at Bobby Hurley. Played for Coach K.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how difficult it must be for him in 2025 to have a kid say, I don't know, Coach. I don't know if I feel like
I'm not feeling it today.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, all the OG coaches are getting out of the game because they realize with NIL, we're no longer selling us the experience of making you a better player, making you a better young man. We're just giving you money now. Yeah. See, I wanted you to come to University of Cincinnati because we have a good program, something that spans multiple years. It's a program. And I felt like you'd be good for our program. And I felt like on the other end of our program, you'd be a college graduate, a great player, ready to go out in the community and do good things.
Yeah.
Like we had a program in Arizona.
Right.
Now with NIL, we're just like used car salesmen. We're buying kids.
Yeah.
So everything I bring to the table is now insignificant because it's all boils down to money. That's why Nick Saban left Alabama.
Yeah.
Because why do I need to stick around and pay kids to come learn
just
football
change too
from
much.
me?
Yeah.
I don't like this new atmosphere. I've got more money than I could possibly spend. I'm out.
Yeah.
And a lot of coaches are taking a look at their balances and I don't need this. I'm out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the advice I have for kids is challenge yourself. Getting better is painful.
Yeah.
It is, and if you're okay with that, if you can withstand it, your ability to withstand pain and suffering is going to determine how good you are.
Yep.
Kobe Bryant did not wake up that good.
Yeah.
People used to watch him work out and they would be like, he's crazy. Look what he's doing. He's the best player in the NBA, and look what he does to himself every morning at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You don't think that's connected?
Right.
You don't think that? So by the time game time rolls around at 8 o'clock and everybody's got their jerseys on and the cameras are rolling, he's digging into that 4 a.m. workout and he's dominating you guys.
Yep.
And he understands that it's connected. What I did at 4 a.m., if just 20% of that shows up during the game, I'm going to dominate.
Right. Laid that foundation.
Yeah. And that's the thing with kids. I would tell them, like, hey, don't get caught up in your wins and losses. Get caught up in getting better.
Yeah.
Get better each day. Don't overreact. I don't want to say it's just a game, but it's just a game, you know?
Yeah.
But so many kids, they take on sports as their identity. Who are you? Oh, I'm the number 3 volleyball player in California. That's not who you are. That's
Right.
what you do.
Yep.
You know, but we're in a culture now where we turn the kids into commodities.
Yep.
What can they do?
Yep.
That's who they are.
Well, Corey, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Always
Always
love spending time with you.
Appreciate it, man. Always good to be here.
All right. That's another episode of Southwest Flavor. We'll see you again here on Thursday at 9 a.m.